Welcome back, everybody. This is chapter 2 of the journey of a brand new firearm owner's journey. Chapter 2 here, and we're going to talk all about the firearm itself, your first self-defense handgun, which one to get, definitely which ones not to get, and I don't mean by specifics of the brand or whatever, but the classification, what category you should select. Also, how much to spend, how much is too little or too much, and especially the accessories, the things that you really do have to have when you first take that new gun to the range. So here, let's get started on it. Now, in the previous chapter, we talked about all those things leading up to, but not yet, the firearm, the things that you already should have invested money into. That was about $300. So today we're going to cover another $600 worth, and it'll primarily be the firearm and a few things which are still very imperative. If the reason for this journey is to get a self-defense handgun, then it is very likely that you will choose 9mm as the cartridge that you're going to chamber that handgun in. Okay, so we're establishing that, and that this is we'll just call it a mostly full-size 9mm handgun, which is for self-defense. Since that's the case, we're going to default to a striker-fired, polymer-framed handgun. Now that is most of the handguns out there. Most of the handguns that I have right here on the rack, and it's definitely what you have a lot of options with that. Not only should it be polymer-framed, striker-fired, you should have a full grip. Okay, you should be able to get your entire hand on that gun. And I believe that between 3.6 and 4.25 roughly is the length of barrel that you should be having for this handgun. And in this analogy, we're budgeting $500 for this gun. So let's talk about price first. You can go find, that's a good example. You can get a Walther PPK or PPS that is a hammer-fired 380 steel frame single stack gun, which is not what we want, right? But you could get a boutique gun like that for $800. That is a waste. Doesn't mean that that's a bad gun or that you wouldn't want to have it, but you're overspending and under delivering. You're not getting a good enough gun for this scenario with that. Now you can also find, I forget how you pronounce the name, but it's SCCY. You can get one of those guns, which is a polymer frame hammer-fired gun, but that is probably $200 or less. And I would say you can get one of those later, okay? Do not spend $200 on that. Just save up another $200 or $300 and get a $400 to $500 gun. Don't just scratch the bottom of the barrel of this. And even just the concept that in the previous video we talked about spending, was it $300? Though you need those things anyway. You should have the budget for this. If you can spend $300 before you even get the gun, then save up a little bit longer, reallocate your funds, and get a decent handgun. So let's go down the list here. First of all, you do not want to get something like this. Now, why is that? Well, this is a good gun, but it is a .22. It's not necessarily the best for self-defense. There's many arguments that say this is good enough, but even for self-defense, this is a heavy gun. It's accurate, but it's not really something to train with. Even the trigger itself is pretty light and accurate, but it's not something that's going to relay very well. It won't transfer very well to the rest of your firearms. So here is a decent one. This is probably a runner-up to the very best one, but this is a 5-inch barrel, full grip, 17-round grip on this. It does have a manual safety. That's not bad. There's lots of reasons that you could get this. Now this might be over that $500 range, but maybe not. If you get a used one, it might actually be only $400. Something like this is very, very good. It might not be the best because, for example, this model is about 12 years old. Plenty of 12-year-old guns, which are good, but I'll say that this is just kind of a runner-up. This one right here, get you a different view. This one here is in 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, it doesn't mean that that is wrong, but it means it's kind of outside the boundaries or outside the range of what we're trying to do. Also, this is a little bit modified. It has a trigger, which is more, it's not a standard trigger, okay? So this would be a reason not to get this gun. Even though this was cheap, I think I paid 350 bucks for this, 300 maybe, but that's not necessarily what we want. Here we have another 22, very good training gun, but not the best. This is not what you want for self-defense necessarily. Now we're getting closer again. This is another runner-up. This one is a 3.6-inch barrel with a manual safety, striker fired, right? It's an M&P, obviously. Now, this does not have a full-size grip. This is a compact gun, and it is too small to really get enough training with, and it's too small to really, this is not a go-to for home defense. And last gun, which I'm not recommending. Now, oddly enough, this is the gun I recommend to almost everybody for concealed carry. This video is slightly less about concealed carry and more about your first self-defense gun, which we want to include as home defense. Now, if you're buying only one gun, not only you'll be defending yourself with it, right, theoretically, but you have a lot of training to do with that gun. You need to spend a lot of time shooting that gun to get good at firearms. To get comfortable with them, but also to hit what you're aiming at. How to manipulate malfunctions or work through malfunctions. Manipulate the gun, take it down, clean it. All these things, if you're a new owner, you're going to have to learn these things. So while this gun is very good for a variety of reasons, this is a great concealed carry gun. It is not necessarily a great overall home defense or first gun for you. So, spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, I guess here's the finish. This is something that I would recommend you get. Now, this does have an optic. Let's just kind of pretend that we don't have an optic on this gun, right? And this is a 3.6-inch barrel. I think a 4-inch barrel is ever so slightly, I'll just say it's more standard. Okay, that would work just fine. But this is a newer version. It has a better trigger. It does not have a manual safety, but that's kind of, we'll talk about that in another video, I suppose, whether or not you need a manual safety. But this is in the range of what you should get. The biggest aspect being that it is a full grip with a magazine, at least for my hands. Get right to the base of it, full grip. And reasonably priced, and it's reliable, or we can expect it to be reliable. And that would be about $500. Eventually you may want to upgrade with a red dot, but getting something with irons that you can just learn on, just to a good red dot is going to be 200 bucks or more. And so you need to manage your budget here. A couple more things on here which we most definitely need, or at least many people think that you need, would be firearm security. Now that you have a firearm in the home, you need to make sure that no one else is using it in the wrong way. If you have little kids at home, depending on their age, right, you might just be able to put that in the bedside drawer and they won't mess with it. It's possible if they're small enough. If they are old enough, they might just, they could be learning with you not to manipulate guns or not to handle them. But most likely they're in the range in which you will feel more comfortable if that gun is made inoperable by someone that is not you. So for that, I'm actually going to default to this here. And every new gun purchased by law, or I guess through an FFL, needs to have one of these. Now, this one is not opened. Somehow my firearms have not done damage to other people by themselves without this lock, right? I don't want to make too much fun of this. The law is not that they need to be locked up. The law is that they are sold or given away, whatever, when any new firearm, whenever any firearm is sold by an FFL, I believe. But if you want to keep things it's wise to, how do I say this? You need to have the firearm secure one way or the other. And if using that lock and that cable is how you do it, well then there you go. That's one way to do it. I will point out that you can still get the same function of locking that slide open, the action open. So how you do that, basically, we'll cover this quick. You'll take that cable, I'm not going to take it right now, but you'll disconnect it. You run the cable through here, through the barrel when the slide open, out the other end of the barrel, and then you lock it together. And so that way the slide can't close all the way, and you definitely can't put a round in the chamber if that lock is there. Just putting that lock around here, like around the trigger guard, obviously is not going to do anything. The point of it is for it to go through the barrel. So we're looking at costs again, $500-ish for the gun. Again, you could buy a safe. You could buy a bedside handheld biometric safe, and it could keep this gun, you know, out of the hands of the wrong people. But we're on a budget here, $600 for this chapter, and so $0 you should have to spend because that lock, that cable lock, is included when you buy a pistol. And for some reason they don't include it, you can spend a few cents, you know, a few bucks for that, or any firearms owner is going to have way too many of those laying around. They will gladly donate them to you, okay? Next up, the thing that you must have before you go train, and this is twofold, but I call it a range holster. So if let's grab this gun again, I guess. A range holster. So right here we have a active retention. Means there is a mechanism which is actively clicking in. The gun clicks in there and it is retained, okay? It's not going to fall out in that regard, okay? So you could have this on your body running around and the gun will not pop out. Now I call it a range holster, even though most indoor ranges, you will not be able to have this on you. That's unfortunate. I don't like that necessarily. I mean, well, I have opinions. We'll go with that. But this is for when you go to the outdoor range or even when you're doing things at home. Now, dry fire is a thing. We're not going to cover that yet. But basically, practicing with your gun, even if it's not loaded, but you should practice pulling it out of a holster, practice drying it, a lot of different things. Having a holster with active retention is wise. I don't remember what brand this is. It's Blackhawk holsters. So this is, I mean, so cheap, right? It even has just the paddle. I think I fumbled my words the last time I talked about this on a video, but yeah, this definitely will work and it's super cheap. There's some other variations. Now this is for the shield, actually. This is Bulldog brand, and this is kind of nice because the retention here is this lever right there. You need to press down on that to release. So that is kind of nice, and depending on how you might consider open carry, this might fit that category. This might check the box of being safe to open carry. Doesn't mean this is the best gun to open carry, but there's there's different arguments for that. And then here's just one more variation. One more variation of an active retention holster with a paddle. It's on the outside. I should say this part is considered the paddle, and then this is, you know, well, it's the release, I guess. Okay. It's important to have. And let me stress this. It is important for you to get these things before you really start training. You need to budget it. You need to consider how important these are for your own safety and for your own training, and just the level of preparedness, especially if you're going with a friend. You cannot rely on them to do all these things for you. In the previous chapter, we talked about all those things. You know, ear pro. A lot of gun people will have extra ear pro to share. eye pro to share, even ammunition. Oh, I brought extra ammo. You can pay me 20 bucks, whatever it is. Well, that's or like the markers, right? I should have mentioned this in the previous video. Those extra things you should have even if your friend is bringing you that firearm. You need to be able to support as best you can your training opportunity and show gratitude and the awareness and how serious you take it, even if it's not your firearm that you're using. Now, obviously, you see if we've got holsters here, we need a gun belt, not just any belt. Now, a lot of people, if you're growing up in the Midwest and if you're a guy, you probably have a reasonably sturdy leather belt, but you would be surprised how many people don't have a sturdy enough belt for a decent holster. So here's one of my gun belts, okay? It is by Nexbelt. Let's see here. By Nexbelt. And you can see it's kind of busted up actually. There's a plastic insert which gives it rigidity, but that has cracked. You can see the cracks there kind of, maybe. I don't know if that camera's picking it up. This belt is still adequate. Now here's how it kind of clicks in. Shows up here probably better. It's just adjusts safely. You can see that where it just, I can't do it upside down, can I? Like that. So this is one good option. This is another decent option. Again, these are not cheap belts. These are not $20 belts from Fleet Farm. Now you can find a decent belt at Fleet Farm, but you'll pay more than 20 bucks for it. You can see this is thicker leather. Leather isn't the best. It will kind of stretch out over time. And actually, I've had another one of these. I got a good deal on these, so I bought 2 of them. And one of the other ones, this tongue actually snapped. It broke. It's just kind of made out of pot metal or something. So it's sort of a matter of time until this one breaks. But this is another kind of a dressier option that still looks decent. But you need to secure your gun. Especially if you're carrying it, you need to have it secured. Now, if you're just going to the range and you're not using a holster, then you need to have something else to set it down, a table or whatever. You shouldn't try to do multiple things with a gun in your hand, right? If you're trying to clear malfunctions or you're picking something up off the ground, or you don't want to be carrying your gun and then also using a marker, marking off your targets or whatever. So those should be easy to understand, but I acknowledge that does get missed. So I'm budgeting 50 bucks. $50 for a gun belt. Plan on spending that, okay? All right, me from the future, jumping back to chapter 2 video, make sure that when you buy that handgun, when you decide whatever that is and you get the gun you need, make sure that you do have 3 magazines with it. Most firearms will have 3 included, or at least 2 included when you buy it. If it does not, you should get it a little bit cheaper, hopefully, or I guess, make sure you buy another magazine. Make sure you have 3 magazines when you first get your handgun. Back to the old me, the slightly younger me. So that wraps up the second chapter in the journey of a new firearms owner. Go back to watch chapter 1 if you haven't seen that already. And of course, stick around or stay tuned, I guess, for the 3rd and 4th chapters as we move forward in this. That's it for now.